Hi there, I'm Denise Laframboise, and welcome to today's webinar of Homeowners Selling Workshop. You're probably watching this because I've told you you have to, or because your realtor has sent it to you. At the end of the day, we really find that there are a lot of things that home sellers are not told or don't think about when they're buying their next property. So here's what we see a lot is people who don't realize that they may need to requalify even though they already have a mortgage. Moving a mortgage from place to place, it's not as easy as it sounds. So the porting, sometimes people feel like they need to port to not break the fees. So we're going to talk about that a bit today. We're going to talk about figuring out your purchase price, because it isn't as simple as I'm selling for 900 and I owe 400, so that means there's 500 left for a down payment. So there's a few things that we have to take into consideration. At any time during or after this webinar, you can book a call. So you can always book a mortgage audit, which is a 20-minute phone call to just go through what you have and what options you might have, and we can help you with these calculations for the down payment and so on, just to make sure that you've got the right numbers. Our goal is always to make sure that you have the best advice. If it's going to save you money to stay with your bank, we will 100% tell you that. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that everyone has the best advice possible. Who am I? So my name is Denise Laframboise. I'm a mortgage broker. I really like math, so I have a degree in economics, and there's our slogan there, wealth building mortgage advice. And we just like to show you too that we're actually pretty good at our job. There's a bunch of awards. So we work with 57 different institutional lending partners, which really just means that what I want your takeaway to be is that whether your logo of your lender is on here or not, this is based on what we see across the entire market, right? So on average, things that every home seller has to think about, regardless of who their mortgage is with. Okay, so what do we need to think about when we're selling? The items we're going to cover today are mortgage portability, down payment calculation, qualification, deposit money, bridge financing, and then a little bonus on separation and divorce. Okay, so maybe you want to port your existing mortgage. Well, there's a few things that you have to consider. So one, can you do that? And how does that work? Different companies have different rules about porting. They also have different rules about what types of property they like. So sometimes they like the property you're in, but they're not willing to port, say, if you're trying to move to a 3-season cottage, or maybe a rural property over certain acreage is a no-go for that particular lender. So even though you potentially can port, you may not want to. And that's where we get into rates a lot. I've seen quite a few clients over the last couple years say, I want to port my mortgage so that I don't have any penalties to break my mortgage. And the reality is the new interest rates that they would be offered would completely offset that penalty cost. So yes, you can port your mortgage and then you will not pay a penalty to break that mortgage, but you do have to keep the parameters. So if you have a mortgage right now at 3% and we can get you a mortgage at 1.5%, does it make sense to avoid a penalty fee to keep the 3%? It depends. It depends how big your penalty is, right? What kind of fine print you signed up for when you signed up for that. But it really is just about doing the math to figure it out. The next piece is qualification. So a lot of people do not realize that when we change anything on the mortgage, which is the address of the house, the details of the new property matter, but also that you have to meet the government stress test requirements. So if something has changed in your situation, say you got that mortgage a couple of years ago, but you've taken out a car loan since then, or you've changed jobs, or maybe you've gone self-employed, you may not qualify for the mortgage that you have now based on today's interest rates, benchmark, qualification, and stress test. So it really is worth, you still have to get pre-qualified even if you are going to keep the same mortgage you have. And the last one is closing dates, and it's just to double check that if you do plan to port your mortgage, that lender that you're with, when you're talking to them about porting, find out if there's a limit on closing dates. So do your closing dates have to be within 30 days of one another? Do they have to be within 60 days? Like, what is the limit for the amount of time that you can possibly port? Because you will need to make sure that your closing dates align if that's the plan that you're going for. down payment calculation. So a lot of times people forget, right? That example I gave at the start, I'm selling for 900 and I owe 400, so I have 500 left. That is not the case, because you may have a penalty to break the mortgage. You may have like fees to port, right? So there might be a discharge fee or something like that to port. You have to pay real estate agent fees. So when we buy our first house, we forget that those realtors get paid somewhere. Well, they get paid when you sell. So you have to make sure that you are calculating enough money from the sale to pay the realtors. And there's also tax on that, right? The government will tax the real estate fees. So fees on that. And then legal fees, right? So what you're going to pay your lawyer. And lastly, the closing costs on the new house, right? When you're making a new purchase, especially if it's your second purchase, a lot of people are surprised by the closing costs, because when you make your first purchase, you get a discount on land transfer tax. So it's quite a bit cheaper. It doesn't feel so painful as when you get, $30,000, $40,000 closing costs on your second home. So it's important to make sure that we're keeping enough money aside for that as well. When we're talking about qualification, so new mortgage or new property, as I said before, will require qualifying at the current regulations with all lenders, right? The government sets these rules, not the lenders. So they can't just ignore if something has changed or if the government stress test has changed and then causes you to not qualify. Does it mean you don't qualify for a mortgage? No, it does not. But it does mean that you potentially will need to ensure that you are qualified, especially if you're planning to port. So I'll tell you my horror story. The worst one I've ever seen. It was last year, and the clients were with a very well-known bank. They've been good clients there for years. They went in and said, we want to port our mortgage to a new house. And the person there said, no problem, go ahead and do that. Your mortgage is fully portable. They did not ask them to qualify. They did not ask them for new income documents. They did not pull their credit. These people were told by their bank that they qualified. So they went out and bought a house. And it turned out that they had changed jobs. So that pre-qualification really needed to be done, because they actually did not qualify with that lender. They qualified with other lenders, but that particular lender did not like the way their income was claimed, because they had switched from an employee to a self-employed contractor. As a result, even though they had planned to port their mortgage, they now had to pay a penalty because the bank was not willing to offer them a mortgage. That penalty was actually just shy of $54,000. So that was $54,000 less that they were now going to have to put down on the home, which was going to cause other issues for them financially that they had not planned on. I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm just telling you that it is very important. You are porting, because it matters, right? It could be the difference between you getting your home, you not getting your home, or knowing what your backup plan is should your current lender not like the property. Deposit is another one sometimes people don't think about. So the deposit is that piece of the down payment that you prepay when you make the offer. So do you have enough money available for what your realtor thinks the deposit should be? And will it need to be paid back at closing? So sometimes people will use a line of credit or a credit card or something for the deposit, which is fine. You can do that, but you have to make sure that there's enough money to pay it from the sale of the house. Bridge financing. So bridge financing is when we borrow money with a down payment from yourself, right? So I'm buying a house, I'm selling mine. There's going to be an overlap of about 4 days, and the bank will let us borrow the down payment from that sale for those 4 days so that I have less stress moving, right? I have a bit of extra time to go clean the new place, move, and then clean my place before I sell it. Now, the thing about bridge financing is that not all lenders offer it, and not all lenders are good at it, right? So we need to figure out how long we need to bridge for. And there is loopholes. Like some lenders will not allow you to bridge finance if there's different people on title. So if I own the home that I'm selling with me and my parents are on title, but they're not going to be on the new one, sometimes they won't let me bridge finance to that new one. It's important to ask these questions ahead. And lastly, is there enough money? So do you have enough money from the sale to actually make that purchase? Because if there's not enough money, and sometimes closing costs will come into play, that either you have to plan for extra closing costs, or sometimes we have to increase the mortgage to cover the closing costs so that there's enough money there to actually bridge finance. Also, you'll see in these asterisks here, you need a firm sale on both properties to bridge finance with a institutional lender. So there are private lenders who will offer you financing. It will be really expensive if you do not, like, say you are ready to close, it's closing day on your purchase, but you do not have a firm sold agreement on your sale. And here's my bonus. So separation and divorce. So some things you need to think about. Bridge financing usually is not an option for these clients because there's going to be different people on one house than on the other. Also, sometimes they're selling a house and they're each buying a home. So you wouldn't have the option to borrow down payment, like bridge finance money from a house that you're both on for you to buy separate homes. It doesn't really work that way. We can't use the equity twice. You have to think about deposit money. Is the deposit money coming from a source that is in your name alone? So if you're leaving a couple and you're buying a house on your own, like, does your does your deposit money come from a line of credit in only your name, or is it coming from a joint line of credit? That can be a concern. As well, if there are kids involved, support payments, alimony payments, anything where you're arguing over money or who gets what amount of down payment from your sale of your matrimonial home, a separation agreement is going to need to be in place. Sometimes that's quick, sometimes it takes a long time, but what the bank wants to see is that if there's any potential to argue over money, and usually it comes down to mostly kids and support payments, they want to be ensured that that has been decided and we know what the support payments are, because they are part of the government stress test. And then lastly, thinking about timing. So often we have difficulty bridge financing, or sometimes you have to check with your lawyer to make sure you actually have money, like access to your down payment money. We have seen situations where people sell their matrimonial home, but because they do not have a separation agreement in place, they are not actually released that money until they do. So it's just another thing to think about if this happens to you. Okay, so that's pretty much it I had to talk about today. So we welcome anybody to book a free call. We are definitely happy to, run a quick assessment just to see what mortgage you have now, what your options will be for the future, and how much down payment money we think you'll have after doing kind of the closing costs on your home and the closing costs on your purchase, just to make sure that those numbers add up and that you're out shopping in the right price point. We offer this free service. Typically, you can just book a 20-minute call. It's called a mortgage audit, and we will go through that with you. The other thing I would encourage you to do is possibly consider purchasing the new home, but maybe keep your house as a rental property. If that's something that you would consider at all, I have another little workshop that you can attend, or we can book a call and chat about that too. But sometimes it actually does make sense. It is a lot easier than you think. Most people assume that they cannot afford two homes, but they're actually, if you have a lot of equity in that house, there may be opportunity to do that and use that home to build wealth. So that's all I've got. I hope you learned something. Thanks.